In the quiet corridors of power, fairness is a luxury few can afford. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He wrote, "A prince who wishes to maintain his power must learn how not to be good. But before you turn away, thinking this is about cruelty or manipulation, pause." Machiavelli wasn't glorifying evil, he was exposing reality. He understood the paradox of human nature. The world rewards appearance more than substance, and those who play too fair often end up serving those who don't. Look around today. Corporate hierarchies, politics, even relationships. The person who wins isn't always the kindest or most deserving. It's often the one who understands when to detach emotion from decision and when to appear gentle but act decisively. To Machiavelli, being ruthless didn't mean being reckless. It meant developing the composure to make hard choices when comfort demands otherwise. Psychologically, it's the mastery of emotional regulation, the ability to suppress impulse and act from reason rather than guilt or fear. Modern behavioral science agrees. Studies in social dominance theory show that those who rise tend to balance empathy with assertiveness and fairness with strategy. Those who are too altruistic without boundaries often fall prey to manipulation, while those who integrate calculated ruthlessness maintain both power and respect. Machiavelli's wisdom teaches this balance, the dance between ethics and efficiency, heart and mind. He didn't write for tyrants, he wrote for survivors navigating an unfair world. So today, we explore 6 of Machiavelli's darkest yet most enlightening lessons on power. Lessons not to corrupt, but to protect you. Because in a world where wolves wear smiles, playing fair without wisdom isn't virtue, it's vulnerability. Number 1, appear virtuous, act strategically. Machiavelli's advice to appear merciful, faithful, humane, sincere, religious, but never be bound by them, reveals a deep understanding of human psychology and social perception. He knew that people rarely see beyond appearances. They judge character through symbols, gestures, and tone, rather than truth. This isn't cynicism, it's observation. Throughout history, those who mastered perception shaped the course of nations and empires, from ancient monarchs to modern CEOs. Power often belongs not to the most virtuous, but to those who control how virtue is perceived. Machiavelli understood that perception is power's first armor. Once you control how others see you, you influence how they respond to you. In today's world, this philosophy translates into what we call social intelligence, the art of managing impressions without losing authenticity. In business, for instance, leaders must project confidence, even amid uncertainty. Employees look not for perfect truth, but for emotional stability. They follow those who seem sure. This aligns with research in behavioral psychology, which shows that people are more likely to trust the appearance of competence than actual ability, a phenomenon known as the halo effect. The same principle governs politics, relationships, and digital culture. What people believe about you often outweighs what's real. Hence, perception management isn't deception, it's strategy. However, Machiavelli's brilliance lies in nuance. He never advocated for constant deceit, only selective revelation. To appear merciful doesn't mean to fake kindness, but to know when showing mercy strengthens your position and when it weakens it. It's the wisdom of timing, revealing warmth when it builds trust and concealing it when it invites exploitation. Authenticity, after all, loses its power when overexposed. A person who shares every emotion or motive becomes predictable and vulnerable. In contrast, those who balance transparency with mystery command respect. This lesson extends into modern life. On social media, in workplaces, and even in friendships, people often overshare under the banner of authenticity, not realizing that mystery is a form of strength. To master perception is to move with awareness, to understand that while truth defines you internally, perception defines your influence externally. Machiavelli's insight reminds us that the goal isn't to be false, but to be wise, to express truth with precision, not impulse. In a world where attention is currency, discernment becomes the highest form of intelligence, knowing when to be seen and when to stay unseen. Number 2, control perception, not reality. Humans are not purely logical creatures. We are emotional beings first and rational thinkers second. Every decision, from who we trust to what we buy, is filtered through emotion before reason. This is why perception often carries more influence than facts. A politician's smile, a CEO's tone, or an influencer's story can sway millions more effectively than data ever could. Neurological studies support this truth. Our limbic system, the emotional center of the brain, reacts faster than the neocortex, which processes logic. That means by the time we think, we've already felt. This is why people don't just believe what's true, they believe what's true. Machiavelli understood this long before neuroscience existed. He wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand." What he meant is simple. People are more convinced by what they see and perceive than by the unseen truth or intention behind it. Centuries later, psychologists would call this cognitive bias, the tendency of the mind to create shortcuts in judgment based on appearances, emotions, or context rather than objective evidence. Confirmation bias, the halo effect, and the framing effect all stem from this same human tendency. For example, if someone appears confident, we subconsciously assume they're competent. If a leader looks composed under pressure, we perceive them as trustworthy, even if their decisions are flawed. This understanding of perception has shaped every arena of influence. Politicians use lighting, posture, and phrasing to appear strong. CEOs master public speaking to inspire confidence among investors. Social media influencers carefully curate their image to project authenticity and authority. In all these cases, the perception of truth becomes more persuasive than truth itself. The takeaway isn't to manipulate, but to master presentation. Being right isn't enough in a world that values impressions. You must look right, speak with calm conviction, carry yourself with confidence, and frame your message in a way that resonates emotionally. Facts inform, but emotions transform. Machiavelli wasn't promoting deceit. He was revealing the psychology of influence centuries ahead of his time. He understood that while truth holds power, it's perception that moves people. In a society driven by visuals and impressions, the wise don't just pursue accuracy. They learn to shape perception with integrity, turning understanding into art and presence into persuasion. Number 3, detach emotion from decision. The ruthless man isn't cold, he's composed. He's the one who feels deeply, but refuses to let his emotions dictate his actions. While others react impulsively, he pauses, observes, and calculates. Modern neuroscience explains this through a process where the prefrontal cortex, the brain's center for reasoning and decision-making, overrides the emotional impulses triggered by the amygdala. In simple terms, it's the biological foundation of self-control. When someone angers you or challenges your authority, your amygdala fires up, urging you to retaliate. But the composed man, the one who's mastered restraint, knows that giving in to that instinct only makes him predictable. The ability to stay calm under pressure isn't a lack of feeling, it's emotional intelligence refined to precision. Studies in behavioral psychology show that individuals who can regulate emotional responses outperform those who can't, especially in leadership, negotiations, and crisis situations. Think of great generals, CEOs, or even legendary strategists. They all share a trait: the discipline to feel everything but act only after reflection. The ruthless man's calm is not apathy, it's mastery. His stillness is his sword, and his silence is his armor. This is why he rarely explains himself or rushes into arguments. He understands that time and observation often reveal more than words ever could. In today's world, where outrage is currency and attention spans are short, composure has become a superpower. It gives you the upper hand in conflicts, relationships, and ambition. Because while others waste energy reacting, the composed man conserves his power for precise strategic action. He isn't swayed by guilt or flattery, nor manipulated by chaos. He plays the long game. In essence, ruthlessness in this context doesn't mean cruelty. It means clarity. It's the art of detaching emotion from execution, of allowing reason to lead emotion rather than be enslaved by it. So if you wish to lead, win, or simply survive with dignity, learn this discipline. Feel everything but act on nothing until you've thought twice, because true strength isn't in the storm, it's in the one who stands still within it. Number 4, strike decisively when you must. Machiavelli's insight that hesitation is deadlier than aggression is not merely philosophical. It is deeply psychological and supported by centuries of behavioral observation. In The Prince, he warns that indecision weakens authority, creating an aura of doubt that enemies exploit and followers resent. Inaction, he wrote, breeds contempt, because people instinctively equate hesitation with weakness. Modern leadership psychology echoes this. Studies from Harvard Business Review and the Journal of Behavioral Decision-Making reveal that teams are more likely to trust leaders who act decisively, even when those actions involve risk, than those who constantly deliberate. Decisiveness signals confidence, and confidence breeds trust. When leaders hesitate, they send an unspoken message that they doubt themselves, which makes others doubt them too. In neuroscience, this response is tied to what psychologists call social threat detection. The human brain evolved to seek stability and leadership in uncertain conditions. When someone exudes certainty, even through tough choices, it calms the group's collective anxiety. This is why people rally behind figures who appear bold, even if their choices are controversial. From military generals to CEOs, history repeatedly shows that firmness, even when imperfect, earns more respect than fear-driven indecision. Machiavelli understood this primal instinct long before modern science did. To him, a ruler who hesitates invites chaos. A ruler who acts commands order. But Machiavelli didn't glorify cruelty or recklessness. His philosophy emphasized strategic timing, the ability to seize kairos, the opportune moment. He believed strength, when shown completely and without apology, should be calculated, not impulsive. Behavioral economics today mirrors this idea through loss aversion theory, which explains how fear of loss often paralyzes decision-making. Machiavelli's cure for that paralysis was simple: act and let the consequences unfold with authority. In modern terms, the lesson applies far beyond politics. In relationships, business, or personal growth, hesitation sends mixed signals. People sense it. and their confidence in you erodes. The world, as Machiavelli implied, forgives firmness more than fear, because confidence, even mistaken confidence, creates clarity. And clarity in a world clouded by uncertainty is a form of power. So when the moment calls for strength, show it completely, not with arrogance, but with conviction. Because inaction may protect your comfort today, but decisive courage builds your legacy tomorrow. Number 5, keep your intentions hidden. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. That line captures the essence of strategic timing, an art often lost in the noise of modern impulsiveness. The wise act not out of haste, but out of clarity. They see the full picture while others are still piecing it together. Yet their true power lies not in speed, but in silence. They move quietly without broadcasting their intentions. In psychology, this principle ties to strategic ambiguity, a behavioral tactic where withholding information prevents others from predicting your next move. When people can't read your plans, they can't form counter-strategies. That's why your silence becomes your fortress. It protects your intentions from manipulation and shields your progress from premature judgment. Even in neuroscience, studies show that the brain reacts to uncertainty with heightened alertness. People pay more attention to what they can't figure out. This unpredictability naturally commands respect, and in many cases, a cautious admiration. Think of leaders, entrepreneurs, or thinkers who operate discreetly. Their quietness creates a psychological edge. Their mystery invites curiosity and discourages interference. Contrast that with those who overshare every move. They lose control of perception and invite resistance. In the social world, information is currency. The more you reveal, the more leverage others gain over you. Silence, therefore, isn't weakness. It's mastery of information flow. Machiavelli once implied that secrecy sustains authority, because power thrives where others remain uncertain. In everyday life, this means moving deliberately and speaking selectively. You act when others hesitate, and you guard your motives when others broadcast theirs. Your unpredictability becomes your armor, your restraint, your weapon. The fool announces his plans, hoping for validation, but the wise build quietly, allowing results to speak louder than declarations. In essence, wisdom operates like a chess game. Every move is calculated, but never announced. The board doesn't need to hear your strategy, it only needs to witness your victory. And so, the next time you feel the urge to explain your every step, remember, your silence doesn't make you mysterious. It makes you unassailable. Number 6, be feared. More than loved, but without hatred. Machiavelli's statement, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both," is one of the most misunderstood lines in political philosophy. Many interpret it as an endorsement of cruelty. Yet the truth is far more nuanced. When Machiavelli wrote The Prince in 1513, he was observing the brutal reality of Renaissance politics, a time when rulers lived or died by their ability to maintain control in unstable, treacherous environments. In this context, fear wasn't about terror or tyranny. It was about respect through predictability. To be feared, in Machiavelli's terms, meant to be a leader whose word had weight, whose boundaries were clear, and whose justice was consistent. People could rely on such a ruler even if they didn't adore him. Love, by contrast, is rooted in emotion, and emotions shift with convenience, circumstance, and self-interest. In human psychology, affection is tied to reward. People love when their needs are met, But when hardship arrives or incentives disappear, that love fades. Fear, when born from structure and fairness, tends to last longer because it is tied to consequence rather than comfort. Machiavelli understood that consistency creates a sense of order, and within order lies loyalty. Not the sentimental kind, but the dependable kind that sustains authority and progress. However, Machiavelli draws a sharp line between fear and hatred. He warns that once a leader becomes hated, his power begins to decay from within. Hatred breeds rebellion, deceit, and silent resistance. Modern psychology supports this. In workplaces and governments alike, when people feel unfairly dominated or humiliated, they disengage or conspire against authority. Machiavelli's advice, therefore, is not an invitation to rule with cruelty, but to govern with firmness, restraint, and balance. The goal is not to inspire terror, but to earn respect through consequence, to ensure people understand that actions have outcomes, both good and bad. Even in today's world, this principle applies beyond politics. In leadership, relationships, and business, being overly focused on being liked often leads to compromise and inconsistency. But when a person sets clear boundaries, follows through on their word, and avoids emotional manipulation, they command respect, even from those who don't personally like them. It's the quiet strength that separates leaders from pleasers. Machiavelli's wisdom remains timeless. Love may inspire devotion, but fear, rooted in discipline and fairness, ensures stability. And in the fragile balance between the two, the wisest path is to cultivate respect strong enough to outlast both. Machiavelli never glorified cruelty. He taught awareness. His message was that fairness without wisdom becomes weakness, and compassion without boundaries leads to ruin. In his world, and in ours, blind idealism often feeds those who exploit kindness for gain. Through the prince, he revealed uncomfortable truths about human nature, that people are moved more by appearances than by virtue, and that the naive often become prey to the cunning. His lesson wasn't to abandon morality, but to pair it with intelligence. Being strategic, observant, and emotionally disciplined was, to him, the truest form of power. Ruthlessness, in this sense, doesn't mean cruelty. It means self-preservation. It's the strength to protect your peace, your vision, and your dignity from those who mistake kindness for weakness. In life, there are moments when playing fair becomes a disadvantage, especially when fairness is used as a weapon against you. That's when awareness must replace emotion, and clarity must outweigh sentiment. True power doesn't need to shout or dominate. It simply stands unmoved, unbothered, and unbreakable. It's calm in the face of manipulation, strategic in the face of chaos, and immune to the tactics that sway ordinary minds. Machiavelli's philosophy reminds us that being good is noble, but being wise is necessary. So stop playing fair when fairness is being twisted to control you. Instead, be calm, be strategic, and be unshakable. Because in a world driven by noise and deception, real power is not in aggression. It's in becoming quietly untouchable,